comes Haribol, Haribol. Welcome, welcome to our daily live stream, except for Sundays. So today is Ekadashi, Apara Ekadashi, also the appearance day, Avirbhava of Sri Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura, and hopefully we might conclude our 20th chapter today on Vaidhi Marg, the rules and regulations, the angas rather of bhakti. Rules and regulations always sounds a bit intimidating, but it's the angas of bhakti, more preferable. Okay, we'll have a kirtan and then we'll begin. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Aradhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavari Paschatya Dishatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshaviti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ramo, Hare Ramo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Lord Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai. Oh Jaya Sachi Nandan, Jaya Gauda Hari, Sachi Nandan, Jaya Gauda Hari. Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhavika Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Barisha Bananandini Bhajeshwari Radharani Ki Jai Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Surabhi Kunj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astautar Sarashishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astautar Sarashishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astautar Sarashishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astautar Sarashishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Vaishnav Sabhabhoma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Varantaracharya Ki Jai Jai Rasik Sirumani Srila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sika Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gaudamdvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritudvip Janadvip Modandvip Rudradvip Apmaka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopiko Govardhan Dwarasa Vardmatmika Shri Braja Mandal Ki Jai Shri Radha Kun Shama Kun Ganga Jamuna Devi Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai Shrimati Yogamaya Purnamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai Ketra Mandal Ki Jai Sarva Vignath Nasakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai Bhakta Pravar Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Charidam Ki Jai Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai Chari Acharya Ki Jai Akada Mataraj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananda Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagat Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Amagina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshush Ummalitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Shwapatantikam Priya Sarupe Daita Sarupe Prema Sarupe Sahajavi Rupe Nijana Rupe Prabhu Eka Rupe Tatana Rupe Swavila Sarupe Anapita chirim chirat karuna vartino kalos samarapaitam unnata ujjvala rasam swabhakti shriyam Hari purata sundara tutikatam vasatapita sada hridare kandare spuratu vasachinandana Yam pravajantam anapetyam apeti krityam dvaipaino viraha katara juhava putre titam mayatayotaravo vinirustam sarvabhutam hridim munimanatoshmi Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay shiptascha karmadita rangamadye kripa mayitvam sharanam prapana vrinde namaste charanar vindam Bhajami radham aravinda netram smarami radham madhurashmitasyam Vadami radham karuna baradram tato mamanasti gatyana kapi Tavaivasmi najivami tvaivina iti vignaya radhe tvam nayamam charanantikam I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavad pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And I'm offering again my Dandavad pranams to our dearmost Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate, and unto all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhavebhacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha. So today is the Avirbhava, the appearance day of Srila Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura. Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura has been called the Vedavyas, who describes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, he also calls him the Vedavyas, and Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura calls Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj the Vedavyas. So they are both supporting each other in their honoring of each other. So Chaitanya Bhagavat, which is the great monumental epic that Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura gave to us, describes principally the early childhood pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all his Balya Leela and his Pauganda Leela and his Nimai Pandit pastimes in Navadvip. Very little, actually, just an indication practically towards Puridam. Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura took his birth in 1508 or 1510. There's different records of his birth date, but approximately at the time when Mahaprabhu left Navadvip and went to Puri is when Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura took his birth. And he took initiation from Nityananda Prabhu. He was the last disciple of Nityananda Prabhu. So he took initiation in about 1534 or 33, right at the very end of Mahaprabhu's manifest pastimes. Mahaprabhu leaves this world in 1534. So Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura, he was instructed by Nityananda directly when he was a teenager. When he was about 17 or 18, he had written some beautiful poetry, Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura. And Nityananda saw that poetry and commented, you should write the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You should write about his manifest pastimes when he was here. So this was the order of his Gurudev, Nityananda Prabhu. And we see prominently within the Chaitanya Bhagavat how Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura is glorifying Nityananda all the time. There are whole chapters where he's just glorifying Nityananda Prabhu. He never omits the glorification of Nityananda in all the chapters. Whereas the other, Lochan Das, he also wrote a Chaitanya Mangal, because Chaitanya Bhagavat originally was going to be called Chaitanya Mangal. But then when they discovered that Lochan Das is already writing something, a book called Chaitanya Mangal, then Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura's mother, who is called Narayani, she suggested to Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura he call his book Chaitanya Bhagavat. So we have the Chaitanya Bhagavat. The extraordinary birth of Vrndavan Das Thakura is described in Chaitanya Bhagavat also, as well as something in Chaitanya Charitamrita. But Vrndavan Das Thakura's mother was the niece of Srivas Thakur, and she was the daughter of Srivas Thakur's elder brother, Sri Nalini Pandit. Srivas Thakur had 4 brothers. I think it's 4 or maybe 5, 4. And the eldest brother, this was his daughter, Narayani. And when, there's 2 different descriptions that are given when Mahaprabhu bestowed his specific mercy to Narayani. One time they were performing an Abhishek, and Narayani, she was only a 5-year-old girl, and she was performing so enthusiastically, taking the clay pots of water and bringing them and so on. Mahaprabhu noticed this and he requested her to chant Hare Krishna. And at that time, she just became completely in prem, chanting Hare Krishna. There's another pastime where it's described that Srivas Pandit is feeling threatened by the Muslims. And Mahaprabhu says, why are you feeling threatened? I can annihilate them just in a moment. Just the same way I can give prem to anyone I choose at any time. And the little girl Narayani was in front of Srivas Thakur at that time, and Mahaprabhu told her, chant Hare Krishna, chant, and she did, and she was just tears falling out of her eyes and trembling, etc. Went into complete ecstatic prem, 5 years old. But it's described in a previous birth in Braj Leela. Narayani is the sister of Ambika. Ambika is the wet nurse of Krishna, which means she will give Krishna milk when Mother Yashoda is not available or can't do like that. Actually, so many of the Brijbasi elder gopis, they all gave Krishna their breast milk. Krishna wasn't just happy with his mother's milk. So Ambika was living in Nandagaon, and she would give regularly Krishna her milk. And her sister is called Kilambika, and Kilambika is Narayani. And Kilambika would regularly take the remnants of Krishna in Braj Leela. So we see in Mahaprabhu's pastime, she took the remnants of Mahaprabhu and demonstrated ecstatic symptoms. So this is who his mother is. Vrndavan Das Thakur doesn't glorify his father, who wasn't so prominently devotional in Mahaprabhu's group. He doesn't mention his name. His name is Vaikuntha Nath, I think his name is. But Vrndavan Das Thakur doesn't mention his father. He just mentions his mother and the devotional personalities in his family. So Vrndavan Das Thakur took his birth. It's either described perhaps in Srivasangam or in Mamgachi. In Mamgachi is the home of Srivas Thakur also, and Vasudev Datta. They have their homes there. And Malini is the daughter of Vasudev Datta. So Malini is the wife of Srivas Thakur. So Malini is Ambika. Is this rather, yes, Ambika in Krishna's pastimes. And Narayani was Kalambika. So these 2 personalities, Malini and Narayani, were living more or less together. But Malini is much older than Narayani in Gaura Leela. But Narayani was, she went to Malini's house to give birth to Vrndavan Das Thakur, and they stayed there for approximately 3 or 4 years. And his deities that were worshipped at the time, Gaunitai deities, are still there today, which we honor especially today in Mamgachi. So Mamgachi is very much connected with Vrndavan Das Thakur's pastimes, but he only stayed there in his very early childhood. And then when Mahaprabhu was in Puri, then all the devotees became in separation. Many of them moved back to their traditional homes in Kormahatta, and which is about 60 miles south of here. And Vrndavan Das Thakur, he moved to his maternal grandmother's home in Denur, and he stayed just with his mother his whole life, Narayani. He never got married, and he wrote this Chaitanya Bhagavat from Denur in that place. But Chaitanya Bhagavat is filled with emotional sweetness and total nectar to immerse ourselves in those pastimes is an extraordinary gift that Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura gave to the Vaishnava community at that time. And also, just after the disappearance of Nityananda Prabhu, in about 1535, practically a year after Mahaprabhu left, the Smarta Brahmana community began to throw accusations towards Nityananda Prabhu and many of the Vaishnavas, condemning their practices of Raganuga Bhakti. And Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura was very, very strong and bold in condemning those Smarta Brahmins. And throughout the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there's many bold references where he's saying he will smash the heads of those people, or he will hit them on the head with his shoes and so on. And these were quite radical words at the time. So Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura was fearless, a fearless writer, because of his association with Nityananda Prabhu, who didn't even know the meaning of the word fear. So Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura had that current of fearless nature, and he puts that into his Chaitanya Bhagavat. But one time Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was asked, why didn't you translate the Chaitanya Bhagavat? Why did you translate the Chaitanya Charitamrita? And he answered immediately saying that Chaitanya Charitamrita is actually a more scholarly presentation. So he chose that for his Western disciples. Chaitanya Bhagavat has all Shastra is included there, but it's more of a familiar nature. It's much more intimate pastimes are there from the very beginning. So Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamrita must be studied by the Vaishnavas today to understand the character and nature of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So today we're most grateful and glorifying this incredible personality, Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura, for his efforts to give us this Chaitanya Bhagavat. And we are offering our prayers to him and beseeching him to please bestow us his mercy on this most auspicious day of his Avirbhava. Shri Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura ki jai. So now we'll come to our Jaiva Dharma study. By the way, Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura, we don't include him in our Mangalacharyan because he's not a Manjari. He's a Gopa. He's Kusum Pida Gopa in Braj pastimes, Kusum Pida. And he's not one of the Dwadasa Gopals, the 12 Gopals of Nityananda, but he is a Gopal of Nityananda, but not one of the 12. So he's a most important personality in Nityananda's lineage. But in our Guru Varga, these are all Manjaris in our Guru Varga. So we don't chant the name of Vrndavan Dāsa Thakura when we're chanting pranam mantras, etc. We just chant to those Manjaris. So now we'll come to page 129 for our Fal Shruti before we go into, and perhaps we'll conclude our chapter 20 today, we'll see. Pritivita yata kata dharma name chale, Bhagavata kahi saha paripurna chale. As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam 112, all the philosophies on earth that are celebrated as dharma are utterly deceptive, all naimitic dharma. Many of Krishna's pastimes are also naimitic. Kamsa, etc., the demons, they're all naimitic pastimes. The only nitya pastimes are actually the Asta Kalya Lila. These are the nitya pastimes. Everything else is naimitic. So, but the idea of dharma, artha, karma, moksha, this is what Bhaktivedanta Thakur is referring to here. Chale dharma chari kara satya dharma mati chaturvarigya tyaji dharat nitya prema gati. One should completely abandon such deceptive dharmas and absorb his mind in true dharma. In other words, one should give up the fourfold goals of material life: dharma, artha, karma, and moksha. and aspire solely for the ultimate destination of Nitya Prem. Yes, be very clear on this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing this for the world to understand what is Nitya Prem. It's not Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. It's not Moksha, which is what most spiritual practices, unless they've come in contact with this Gaudiya line, they believe that moksha, liberation, is the goal. That's the alternative to Krishna consciousness, basically. If you're not going to connect with Krishna in Sambandha, to get the bliss of Prem and Vraja Prem, then you're most likely to be looking towards liberation from this material world. And that is naimitic, that is not in the transcendental realm. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying very clearly here, don't go that direction. Amitva mimam sabrame nija jade buddhi nirvishesha brahm gyan nahi chirashuri. Says the same thing again now. Those who are deluded identify themselves with matter. If you identify yourselves with matter, you'll want dharma, you'll want karma, artha, you'll want wealth, and you'll want moksha. If you identify yourselves with matter, that's what you'll want. This is their error. However, one cannot be purified by such delusion by endeavors for nirvishesh brahm gyan. So nirvishesh brahm gyan is the conclusion of those four purusarthas, they're called. Ivitrata hina hale nirvishesha hoy kalasematulya seya aprakritanoi. The Mayavadi thinks Sri Krishna to be subject to the limitations of time, such as birth and death, and considers that he is not transcendental because he doesn't know anything beyond this material cosmic reality. He's focusing on the, at best, becoming one with Krishna in the creation. He's not looking for the pastimes of Krishna. That's this Ivitrata, what he's talking about here. He's looking for liberation again. Thus, he rejects Sri Bhagavan's Vichitrata, astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia, qualities, and lila. Through this vicious attempt, he is left with the philosophy of nirvishesh brahm. Basically, your soul gets cooked. It's like spiritual suicide. You no longer have an opportunity to connect with the Lord in a loving relationship because we're so concerned with our own bliss, that shantaras, which is there in the Brahman. That is what the Mayavadi, that is what the Brahmavadi, Muktavadi, that's what they actually are seeking. That inner bliss, but separate from Sambandha. There's no Sambandha in the Brahmajyoti. There's no relationship with the Lord. It's just Shantaras. It's such a dangerous place to even think about. And so many are heading in that direction. And therefore they don't have a taste at all to hear about Krishna's pastimes. They think, unless they think those pastimes are going to give me strength to move forward in my desire to have moksha. Sometimes the Mayavadis, they'll use Krishna's pastimes. They'll use the path or the potency of bhakti to try to realize the impersonal Brahman. They'll use that.
Is it the same like with devotees who want to read Krishna's pastimes and they're really wanting liberation? They want to go to Goloka or something like that, but they want to, because they don't want to take another body again. Is that the same type of thing? Or is that different?
Yes, if someone wants something other than devotion to Krishna, then many are performing this devotional practice and they just think they want a higher birth in their next body rather than they want a position where they can practice devotion to Krishna. If there's any compromise with the focus of bringing Krishna pleasure, then the only other alternative to that is to bring me pleasure. Somehow or other, it's my pleasure that I'm looking for. That's liberation, yes. That's a Mayavad. When Prabhupada, in his first 2 or 3 cantos, he was speaking many, many times about the Mayavadis, the Mayavadis, the Mayavadis. Who are the Mayavadis? The Mayavadis are all those sense enjoyers who want some pleasure here in this material world. They want some peace, Shantaras. Shantaras is the lowest of the rasas. It's practically not even across the Viraja river. It's there, but it's not at all prominent. So this is what those practitioners are seeking, because they've struggled so hard in the material world. They just want liberation from the material world. But it's not bhakti. That's why, so importantly, we have to become educated in what is Shuddha Bhakti. And this is what Jaiva Dharma specifically is coaching us on. From the very 13th chapter, actually from the very beginning, it's describing what is Sambandha. All the way through, every single chapter, all the chapters are connecting. It's not just separate chapters, separate descriptions of separate truths. All these truths are in a process of reaching the ultimate enlightenment, the ultimate place of transcendental seva to the Lord. It's all a culmination. And none of it has anything to do with this quest for liberation. And this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur spells out very, very clearly in this Falshruti. Every single verse is the same focus, not liberation. Thus he rejects Sri Bhagavan's Vichitrata, astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia qualities in Leela. Through this vicious attempt, he is left with the philosophy of nirvana. If you reject Bhagavan's pastimes and don't realize the depth of their truth and their beauty, it's like in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's just packed with different examples of Mahaprabhu's tasting the sweetness and beauty of Krishna. There's a chapter in the Antya Leela about him tasting Mahaprasad, for example. And that Mahaprasad, all the Vaishnavas are becoming completely in ecstasy, tasting the Mahaprasad that has been tasted by the lips of Krishna. The Mayavad won't believe in this. The Mayavad won't get that connection because he doesn't have the sambandha. If you don't have the sambandha with Krishna, if you don't have the belief and the desire to serve the Lord, principally because of the very first injunction of realizing the insignificance of the jivas. The jivas are anuchit, Krishna is vibhuchit, Krishna is punachit, Krishna is complete, whereas the jivas are tiny sparks, or the atoms in the rays of the sun, the particles in the rays of one or the other, like that. So this requires a lot of submission to give up your material sense of importance, your reputation, your whatever you think that you've acquired in this birth, to just give all that up as being insignificant. Most aren't ready for that. They're not ready to drop that abhiman, that identity with matter. They want to, because it's very frightening, unless they've developed this fund of Krishna consciousness, and if they develop this knowledge. It's a process. We have to develop where we're going. We can't just jump, and we don't have the package, so to speak, of our connection with Krishna. It'll be devastating for the jiva. He won't know what to do. He has to develop this sense of knowing that this relationship with Krishna is nothing but based on the principle of love. When we say you have to be a servant of God, most reject that. They don't want to be a servant. They want to be the independent. That's why we came into the material world to begin with. That's the whole process. Kanda jnana hoya dharma ache sunishchaya prakriti hoila kabu aprakritanaya. Such base and contemptible gyan, which arises out of an attempt to dismember the divine form of Bhagavan, is only fit to be rejected. It is prakrita, materialistic, and should never be given credence as aprakritam. So in order to understand this Falshruti, we have to absorb ourselves in the Jaiva Dharma itself to fully realize the truths of what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying in Falshruti. So we've come through these different chapters. We've just come out of the Shakti Tattva, and then it was Jiva Tattva, then it was Jivas bound by Maya, then it was Jivas liberated from Maya, then it was Abheda Bheda. The Jiva and Krishna are one simultaneously and different. That was an incredible 18th chapter. And then the 19th chapter begins what is Shuddha Bhakti. And we had Anyabhilasita Sunyam as a principal cornerstone to understanding, a stepping stone to understanding that. We had the other verse, Kleshagni Shubhada, the progress to move from understanding what is bhakti. Then we must understand what is bhav bhakti, what is our direction. It's not simply just sadhan, but there has to be a focus to the sadhan. If there's no focus to the sadhan, then it's just empty, it's void. It's just ritualistic, it's smarta. It has no potency, but if it's focused on bhav, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur was making that very clear. And now in this chapter, so beautiful chapter describing all the angas of bhakti, the limbs of bhakti, 64 limbs of bhakti. All of these limbs of bhakti are all concerned principally with archan, which again is the bodily conception. This is archan, means the external concept. These are all external principles. But if we can't follow the externals, how do we expect to follow the internals? I was saying the other day how my Gurudev used to chastise the devotees sometimes, saying if you're drinking tea and coffee, you can't even follow this injunction. How do you expect to actually come into Braja Prem? You can't even do this. So we have to come up a little bit. The consciousness can do anything it wants to do. We have independence. If we want to embrace these angas of bhakti, we can do it easily. We just simply have to desire it, and then the mercy of Krishna will manifest, and the mercy of Guru and our Guru Varga will manifest to support us in our efforts. It's not out of the question for us to do this. It's not so difficult. It's not so beyond us at all. First of all, we start to control the tongue, what we say, what we eat, etc. This is within our grasp. It's not something so distant. It's hard in Kali Yuga. Everyone becomes by principally these cell phones don't help. Constantly bombardment with enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Confirmed. So we have to just be aware of the dangers. I mean, we're in the world of death, mrityu. This planet, there's death at any moment. And it's like a war zone right now, Kali Yuga. The demons are in control. So we should be ahead of the curve, so to speak, is what they say. Be ahead, be in knowledge, and be in knowledge of all these 64 angas. So we'll come, I think that we're on page 476. Did we discuss about the jiva being within the body is dehi, embodied? I think we'll start from the top of 476. Vijay, will you please explain these two terms more clearly? The egoism of the embodied jiva, dehi nishta ahanta, and attachment to the body and to things connected to the body, deha nishta mamata. Babaji, the jiva within the body is called dehi, embodied, or ahang, self. Acting with the false consciousness of I is called dehi nishta ahanta, the egoism of the embodied jiva. We just talked about that. And the consciousness of possessing the body or things that are related to the body is called deha nishta mamata, attachment to things connected with the body. These two principles of I and mine are both to be offered to Sri Krishna. That's Sharanagati. Offer ourselves to Krishna. Atmanivedanam means to relinquish the consciousness of I and mine and to take care of the body with the consciousness I am Krishna's servant. We should be so proud of that label. Yes, look, I'm bound by the neck, a collar, like a dog by the collar, to Krishna. I'm bound by his mercy, by his love. It's such a proud label to wear. I am Krishna's servant. I'm not the servant of Maya. We should be strong on this point. I am Krishna's servant. I take Krishna's prasad and I use this body in Krishna's service. With resolute determination, we have to embrace this. Because if we don't, then we're taking Maya. Then we're embracing Maya. It's quite simple. You have one or the other. We're tatashta. It's one way or the other. You can't actually ride in the middle for very long. You can, and many do, and are constantly in disturbed minds because they're trying to ride through both. They're trying to hold on to some material pleasure, at the same time move towards Krishna. But it is a gradual process. It needs to be done. So it's like a horse. When you break a horse in, the horse has spirit, has heart. You don't want to break the spirit. And you put it on a long rein, and the horse runs around on a very broad circle. And gradually you pull the horse in as he's running around, closer, day by day by day. You pull the horse more under control, more. It's like the mind is like a wild horse. It gradually has to be reined in according to the rules and regulations. And these rules and regulations are beautiful. Vijay, how should we offer to Krishna things? Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says in chapter 7, it's talking about I am a devata, I am a husband, I am a wife, I am handsome, I am ugly, I am wealthy, I am poor. So many things like that are saying again and again and again. And at the end, this is ahankta. And this is the idea of mamata also. And at the end of this, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, this colossal affair is called samsara. This is what is samsara. There's attachments to all these material identities, bodily conceptions. So how should we offer to Krishna things that are dear to us? Babaji, when we accept the things of this world that are very pleasing to us, we should first offer them to Krishna. This is what Srila Rupa Goswami means by offering the dearmost things to Krishna. Vijay, how should we perform all endeavors for Krishna's sake? Babaji, performing all endeavors for Sri Krishna's sake means that we should perform all material activities and all activities in regulated devotional service that are favorable for service to Sri Krishna. Everything is his way. Hari Seva. Vijay, how can one accept shelter in every way? Babaji, taking full shelter, Sharanagati, means to express the mood, O Bhagavan, I am yours. Hey Bhagavan, Tavaivasmi. And O Bhagavan, I am taking shelter of you. Hey Radhe, hey Krishna, Tavaivasmi. In the mind and out loud, always Tavaivasmi. Vijay, how does one perform service to Tulsi, Tulsi Seva? Babaji, there are 9 ways of performing Tulsi Seva: having darshan of Tulsi, touching Tulsi, remembering Tulsi, performing kirtan of Tulsi, offering obeisances to Tulsi, hearing the glories of Tulsi and pastimes of Tulsi, planting Tulsi, looking after Tulsi, and performing regular daily worship, Nitya Puja of Tulsi, and honoring Tulsi on Dwadasi, which means not touching Tulsi on Dwadasi, tomorrow. We don't water Tulsi, we don't pick her leaves, we don't move her, we don't do anything with, it's Tulsi's rest day on Dwadasi. Devotees have to be very much aware of that. Again, that's honoring Tulsi by giving her her day. It's Dwadasi day. That's the day when we don't touch Tulsi. Vijay, how should one respect the Shastras? Babaji, the Shastras that establish Bhagavat Bhakti are the real Shastras. Srimad Bhagavatam is the best of all these Shastras because it is the essence of all Vedanta. Those who taste its nectarian mellows have no ruchi for any other Shastra. And it's true. Anyone who starts to read the Bhagavatam, immediately, all of them, I have many, many people that I'm helping through their connection with the Bhagavatam, maybe 100 or more. And each one, when they read just the first chapter of the first canto, they get hooked. There's never been a single time when someone hasn't got that addiction to the Bhagavatam. Always it's the same, because it's Krishna directly. This is what this Bhagavatam is. Vijay, what are the glories of Krishna's birthplace, Mathura? Babaji, all desires are fulfilled by performing the following activities in relation to Mathura: hearing, chanting and remembering, desiring to go there, seeing, darshan, touching, residing there and serving. You should know that Sridham Mayapur is also exactly the same nature as Mathura. It's not different. It's the same as Gokul, where Krishna was actually born in Vrndavan. When it's saying Mathura, many times it's indicating Vrndavan simultaneously. It doesn't mean the city of Mathura. It usually means Vrndavan simultaneously. Vijay, what is the purport of serving the Vaishnavas, Vaishnava Seva? Babaji, Vaishnavas are very dear to Bhagavan. So when we serve the Vaishnavas, we obtain bhakti towards Bhagavan. It is said in the Shastras that worshipping Sri Vishnu is greater than worshipping all the Devatas, but greater than the worship of Vishnu is worshipping the Vaishnavas, who are his servant, Sevak. Who is his servant, Sevak? What's that? Aradayo? No. Aradhanam Sadhavesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param Tasyat Paramram Vari Smaracham. What's that? Aradhanam Sadhavesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param Tasmat Parataram Devi Smararanam Dharasram. This is Lord Shiva is speaking to Parvati. She's asking who is a devotee, and Lord Shiva, he's responding, Aradhanam Sadhavesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param. Those who worship Vishnu, they are to be worshipped. Vijay, what is the meaning of observing festivals according to one's means? Babaji, Mahotsav really means collecting articles according to one's means and using them in Bhagavan's service and in his temple for the service of pure Vaishnavas. There is no greater festival than this. There is no greater festival than this in this world. It's also saying in the 11th canto to Uddhav, Krishna says directly, one who honors me during my appearance and disappearance days, this is most pleasing to me. We should always honor these festivals. And we should know how to honor the festivals, be under no doubt that on Vishnu Tattva, we never take grains. In some places they are taking grains on Advaita Saptami. Advaita is Vishnu Tattva. Never grains, and also Shivji is Vishnu Tattva. On Shivratri, he also should be observed with a full fast. Nityananda Trayodasi, Janmastami, not Radhastami. Radhastami is not. Radharani is not Vishnu Tattva. So we can take non-grains on that day. But Gopurnim, Nrsimha Chaturdasi, Ram Nomi, these days on Vishnu's, when the Vishnu avatars are appearing, always fasting from grains fully, and Advaita Saptami in particular. When we do this, we get the mercy of those personalities. If we neglect and think, oh, why should I bother with that, just ritualistic or something, then the mercy won't come. Then they will think, why should I bother with giving him the mercy? He's not bothering or honoring me. And by observing that fast of grains, which is actually beneficial very often for the body, it can help. It's not something detrimental. But those personalities will acknowledge that austerity that we performed in their benefit and bestow kripa, 100%. Just like today, Ekadashi. We observe it carefully. And the kripa from the Lord will come on this day, 100%. Vijay, how should we respect the month of Kartik? Babaji, the month of Kartik is called Urja. Respecting Urja means performing seva of Sri Damodar by following the angas of bhakti such as Shravanam Kirtana in a regulated way during this month. So this is an anga of bhakti, to follow the rules and regulations of Kartik. Vijay, how should one observe Krishna's birthday? Babaji, Sri Janma Yatra means observing the festival of Krishna's appearance day on Krishnastami in the month of Bhadrapad, and of Mahaprabhu's appearance day on the full moon day Purnima of the month of Falgun. Surrendered bhaktas must certainly observe these festivals. If a surrendered bhakta means someone who wants to please Krishna, this is the instruction that Krishna gives directly to Uddhav. Rupa Goswami is giving us these same directives. Vijay. How should one faithfully serve and worship Paricharya, Sri Murti with opulence suitable for a king? Babaji, loving enthusiasm is very necessary in the service and worship of Sri Murti. Krishna gives not only the insignificant fruit of mukti, but also the great fruit of bhakti to those who perform seva puja of Sri Murti with great enthusiasm. This greed, enthusiasm, utsaha. Vijay, what does it mean to relish Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of Rasik Bhaktas? Srimad Bhagavatam is the very sweet rasa of the desire tree of the Vedas, Nigamakalpa Tarogatitam Phalam, Sukhamukha Amrita Dravan Samyutam, saying in the third verse of the Bhagavatam. By associating with people averse to rasa, one will be unable to taste the rasa of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the result will be aparad. One must taste the rasa of the shlokas of Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of those who are rasagyan, who are conversant with and are drinking that rasa, and who are qualified for Shuddha Bhakti, are qualified for Shuddha Bhakti. That means they're enthusiastically walking that path to Shuddha Bhakti. Maybe they're not Shuddha Bhaktas, but they're enthusiastically going in that direction. They're sincere devotees. So we should relish the Bhagavatam with those who are qualified for Shuddha Bhakti. Speaking or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam in general assemblies will not award pure bhakti. Will not award pure bhakti. Powerful what he's saying here.
Like your standard temple Bhagavatam class, would that qualify?
Well, all those people hopefully in the standard temple class, but if it's a Sunday feast class, then you're probably not going to get so many people who are really wanting to taste the speciality of the verses and so on. And you more or less just have to preach hellfire and brimstone, like no meat, fish and eggs and stuff like that. That's basically, they're still very much engrossed in the animal propensities. They have to actually come from the animal place to a human place to begin with. It's the truth. Even if it's Mr. and Mrs. Dr. Bright, and they're very clean in all their habits and so on. But if they're contributing to killing cows, and if they're not observing proper control in sex life, and what else, gambling, and what's the other one? If they're taking any sort of intoxication at all, then it's just like an animal life. Really, it is. It is animal life. It's not devotional. There's no place in the devotional scriptures that support any type of intoxication, not even tea or coffee. What is the association of bhaktas who, Srimad Bhagavatam, yes, general assemblies will not award pure bhakti. We got the beautiful story of Gokarna. You remember in the Gokarna, they all came to hear the Bhagavatam, but the ghost, what's his name, Dinduli, embodied in a ghost body, he was in a bamboo stick, and every day of the Saptaha, one of the knots of the bamboo would burst, and that Dundukari was the ghost. So he was listening with such attention, because he was in a ghost body, and the way he'd been killed was a flaming torch had been put into his mouth, and his whole mouth was on fire. As a ghost, he still had that remembrance of that death. So he was desperate to hear the Bhagavatam. So he got liberated at the end, none of the others did. A Vaikuntha plane came and picked up Dundukari, and then Gokarna, who was giving the instruction, said to the Vishnu, why not us? We also heard. He said, you weren't greedy. You weren't of the same enthusiasm as Dundukari was. Only Dundukari heard with such enthusiasm. But then they held another Saptaha later on, and they all understood that they had to listen really, 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 really attentively. Then they all became liberated in Vaikuntha. A huge Boeing 707 of a Vaikuntha airplane. Vimana landed and took them all back to Vaikuntha. So that's that pastime. Babaji, associating with abhaktas, non-devotees, in the name of satsanga will not bring elevation. Oh, I have to read the question quite properly. Vijay, what is the association of bhaktas who are of the same mood, swajatiya, and affectionate, snigdha? We have this expression, swajatiya, snigdha, ashraya. These three qualifications are what we're seeking with our association. Babaji, associating with abhaktas, non-devotees, in the name of satsanga will not bring elevation in bhakti. The goal that bhaktas desire is to obtain service in Krishna's aprakat unmanifest lila, and one who has this desire should be known as a bhakta. One who has this desire only is known as a bhakta. Elevation in bhakti comes from associating with members of this group of bhaktas who are superior to oneself, always looking for that bhakta who can support and encourage our devotion. Without this sangha, the development of bhakti stops, and one acquires the nature of the class of people with whom one has sangha. In relation to sangha, Hari Bhakti, Sudaya 851 says, Yasya yat sangiti pumsho manivat syat satad guna swa kuladye tato diman swa yutanye eva samshrayat. Just as a jewel reflects the colors of objects around it, similarly, a person's nature becomes like that of those with whom he associates. Very obvious and clear. Therefore, one only becomes a pure sadhu by the association of pure sadhus. Sadhu Sangha, the association of advanced bhaktas, is beneficial in every way. Where Shastra gives advice that we should be free from mundane companionship, the purport is that one should associate with sadhus. Yes, give up asat sangha. Vijay, what is meant by Nam Sankirtan? Babaji, Nam is aprakat chaitanya ras, a transcendental living mellow, and within Nam there is not any scent of mundane consciousness. When the devoted jiva becomes purified through bhakti and renders service to Sri Harinam, Sri Nam personally manifests on his tongue. Nam cannot be accepted with material senses. This is how one should incessantly perform Nam Sankirtan, either alone or with others. So how do you perform Nam Sankirtan alone? By chanting alone, doing your japa mala, by reading alone is also Sankirtan, is Katha, Hari Katha, living in the holy Dham, etc. Vijay, by your mercy we have already understood something about Mathura Vas, living in Krishna's birthplace, Mathura. Now please explain the essence of these instructions. 64. Babaji, amongst the 64 angas, the last 5 are the most exalted. If one establishes even a slight connection with them and keeps aloof from offenses, even a slight connection with them, even just hearing about them today, we are establishing a slight connection with 64 angas. Even if we're not following them strictly, we're establishing a slight connection, and keeps oneself aloof from offenses, then the state of bhav will arise by their unlimited wonderful influence. Well, that's a wonderful carrot. That's a wonderful,
There's hope.
hope, yes. Just to go to that stage of bhav. Vijay, kindly tell us if there is something more that we should know in relation to this process. Babaji, the Shastras sometimes describe some intermediate fruits of these angas of bhakti in order to create ruchi for bhajan in those who are extroverted and impious. So if you're always looking at outside things, that's not to be encouraged. However, the main fruit of all these angas is to develop attachment to Krishna. All the activities of one who is knowledgeable and expert in bhakti should be within the angas of bhakti and not within the angas of karma. The practice of knowledge, jnana, and renunciation, vairagya, may sometimes assist somebody to enter within the temple of bhakti, but Gyan and Vairagya are not angas of bhakti because they make the heart hard. Understand that clearly. Whereas bhakti is very soft and tender by nature. Bhaktas accept the Gyan and Vairagya that manifest of their own accord through the practice of bhakti, but Gyan and Vairagya cannot be the cause of bhakti, and bhakti easily awards results that knowledge and renunciation cannot give. Sudden bhakti gives rise to such ruchi for Hari Bhajan that even very strong attachment to sense objects decreases and vanishes. The sadhak must always practice yukta vairagya and always stay away from the spirit of deceitful renunciation, falgu vairagya. Falgu is a river that runs under the ground. It doesn't even look like a river. It doesn't even act like a river, but it actually is a river, but it's under the ground. It's false. It's like a false river. So this falgu vairagya is to be, and also marketa vairagya. The renunciation of monkeys. We see monkeys all jumping around, but they all have so many wives, even though they don't have clothes or a bank balance or anything like that, or a home. They look renounced, but then they're not renounced at all. They're enjoying. Yukta vairagya means to accept all paraphernalia according to need and in a detached mood, knowing it to be related to Krishna. If you have $1 million or if you have $1, it's all to be utilized in Krishna's service. If things are actually related to Sri Hari, it is artificial to renounce them as worldly because of greed for mukti. Yes, don't be bewildered by this idea, this aspiration for mukti, for liberation. Don't be thinking that there's anything blissful in that place of mukti. This is called falgu vairagya, that mukti. Therefore, adhyatmika gyan and falgu vairagya should be given up. Sometimes bhakti is displayed to acquire wealth, disciples, and so on, but this is far from pure bhakti. In fact, such a show of bhakti is not actually an anga of bhakti at all. Don't we see this? Constantly on the circuit there are individuals who are just trying to propagate the size of their audiences and their material wealth simultaneously. Certainly in India is like that. We have these god men, they're called, and they have hundreds of thousands, and they're making such a fortune, and then it's discovered, they're getting busted periodically in India because they've seen them so often. Discrimination, vivek, and other qualities are also not angas of bhakti. Discrimination means like criticizing is not an anga, or using your intelligence is not an anga of bhakti. They are qualities of the practitioner. They are qualities of the practitioners of bhakti. Intelligence is a quality. Similarly, yama, niyama, good conduct, cleanliness, and so on are naturally present in people who are favorable towards Krishna. So they are also not angas of bhakti. You don't have to have them separately. Qualities such as inward and outward purity, austerity, and sense control take shelter of Krishna's bhaktas of their own accord. Of their own accord, the bhaktas do not have to endeavor for them separately. Some of the angas of bhakti that I have mentioned are principal angas, and one will attain perfection by firmly performing sadhana of any of these principal angas, or of several of them. I have explained everything about Vaidhi sadhana bhakta in a very brief way. Understand this point. Now you should understand this clearly, take it to heart, and practice it with full force. So now we've come through this chapter. We've heard all these 64 angas. Now we should go over it again. We should examine it in relationship to our own lives and see what is going to be supportive in my own practice of bhakti. How is it going to bring me closer to pure devotion to Krishna? How is it going to support that? It's all glorification of Krishna. Every single anga has its origin in support of Krishna. So we needn't neglect anything, but perhaps we don't have to strictly follow absolutely every single anga, but we should not reject any anga. We can just, know it, and some we incorporate into our lives and some we don't. Now you should understand this clearly, take it to heart and practice it with full force. When Brajnath and Vijay Kumar heard these instructions from Babaji, they offered Sastang Dandavat Pranams and said, Prabhu, please deliver us. We are trapped in the deep trench of pride. How beautiful that they say that. This is all our faults. All our defects is that we're trapped. If we're chanting 64 rounds a day, oh, I'm so proud, I must tell everyone. Let's let the whole world know. If I'm walking around with that kind of abhiman, how is that going to increase your connection, your bhakti to Krishna? Pride has to be purified. Has to be purified. Somehow or other. And it's really insidious how it suddenly comes out of nowhere. You think you've climbed over it and then suddenly it'll just come back in a shot. It's a deep thing. Pratishta. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said in the whole forest of aparads, a whole forest of trees, the biggest tree in the forest is Pratishta. That is the biggest tree. Raghunath Das talks about it in his Manashiksha. We have to pray to be cured of that. Babaji Mahashaya replied, certainly Krishna will bestow his mercy upon you. That night, uncle and nephew returned home very late. So, this is the chapter on Vaidhi Bhakti concluded. And tomorrow, we'll have a little recap, and then we'll go into Raganuga Satan Bhakti. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Kikar. I went a little quick at the end because I wanted to complete the chapter today, but I'm expecting you all to go over it again yourselves. You have the audio, you can listen to it anytime. You can take what is necessary from here to enhance our own unique personal bhakti and pray for mercy of Guru and our Guru Varga to support us in our efforts to come quickly to Krishna Bhakti. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Vivacha, Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnava Namo.